The incident that we wanted to talk to you about, where did that take place?
That took place in a suburb of Geraldton called Wandina. It was quite frightening, to say the least. My partner and both my son saw the same thing as I did. They explained in detail to me exactly what they saw before I'd actually mentioned what I had seen myself. Strange things started happening from the minute I moved into the house. I was renting at the time. My partner was working away, it was late at night, and firstly my son said, "Mum, I see a black man outside," and I didn't pay too much attention to it because we were in a high populated Aboriginal community, really. So I just thought maybe it was someone hanging around the house. And then things sort of started to escalate a bit. I'd have the blinds closed because it was in the direct sunlight during the day, but you could still see, a shadow go past, and I'd constantly see, like a human shadow form go past the window behind me and around to the side. I'd go to look and no one would be there. Standing inside one day, and I had that feeling again that something was watching me. I saw this black figure walk past, but it was a really strange walk. It was more stooped over, elongated arms, a hunched kind of position, not completely hunched and not completely upright. It wasn't terribly tall, I've read some of the stories about 6 foot tall, brown, really, really hairy, but mine doesn't resemble any of those. I was just standing there watching, and I'm thinking, who's this, hanging around my house? And I'm thinking it's a naked man. What's a naked man doing? The next minute it turned around and I was bloody petrified. Even now I'm getting shivers. I did some research on it afterwards to come up with some kind of accurate description of what I saw, and all I could find was Homo erectus, a mishmash of that, and between Homo habilis. It wasn't really, really hairy. It's not, like you see the ape suits or whatever. No. It was hairier than a person would normally be, but not, like some big hairy suit. No.
Try to describe it from top to bottom. How far away were you from it when you were looking at it?
5 metres away. It frightened the shit out of me because when it did turn around, it was the nose that scared the crap out of me, and the eyes. The eyes were like almost a black brown, and because you could see the whites of the eyes predominantly because the pupils were so dark, and the nose was flat, spread across, had wrinkles throughout it, like corrugated. The lips were normal, like I guess Homo sapien, but the most obvious thing was the eyes were too dark, and the forehead was, the top of the forehead sort of stuck out more, but the face was flatter than our own.
So when you say it wasn't hairy, are you talking this was more like, when I think of a bear, that's completely covered. Compare it to a bear.
You go on to a website and look at Homo habilis and erectus. It's like the earlier man, not half as hairy as them. The hair was long. It had long black, very, very dark brown black hair, like someone had brushed their hair ever. It wasn't sort of dreadlocked or anything, but it was very unkempt, looked wavy, not curly.
Was it all over the body?
Its hair was separate from its body. It wasn't like, it was like a human that hadn't properly evolved. It was like between human and ape, I guess.
It turned around and looked in you, and tell me what happened from that point.
The expression on its face was just anger. It looked angry at me, that I had actually seen it, because I think it didn't realise that I'd seen it. And then when it looked at me, I froze. Like, I just sort of froze in my spot for a moment, and then it quickly ran off. But it was really angry that I had seen it. It wasn't 6 foot tall. It wasn't extremely hairy.
You said it wasn't 6 foot, but how tall do you think it was?
About 5. Fairly stocky, like it was, everywhere was very muscular. Its arms were hairy, its legs were hairy, but the chest wasn't full of hair. Maybe about 100, 110 kilos.
The colour of the hair?
It was dark brown, almost black.
You said it was a stocky figure, so it wasn't lean, it was kind of stocky?
Yes, stocky, yes.
The arms, were they short?
Long?
Oh.
No, long. I did notice that the arms were long, and they kind of had that motion as it walked off, like a kind of ape when they're walking. Had some strange stride about it.
Can you describe the walk? You mean it wasn't just a normal human walking off?
No. It took long, quick strides, and its arms were sort of flailing about, like it looked awkward, like they were too long for the body.
You said the face when I looked at it was like a cross between an early man and an ape.
If you were to go on to the internet and look at Homo habilis and Homo erectus, to me it was very similar to some of the pictures I've seen there, but of course it's got its own authentic look, but that's the closest thing I could find, and that's why I got really scared when I saw it, because I couldn't explain what I'd seen. I'm Catholic, and I've been taught not to believe that there's such a thing as evolution, but I have to wonder, after what I've seen, it sort of completely changed my point of view on things.